Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be talking about fathers being involved. I call it the FBI dads.
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I want to be talking about the fathers being involved, the FBI Dads program that is not one that I originated, but I've been building off of at my son's school. And the importance of this. But first, I kind of want to tell you how excited I was as a father. I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story that you guys may or may not know. If you're new, you probably don't know. Even if you've been listening for a while, I'm just going to give you a refresher. I was abandoned by my father at age 5. I won't get into the story much there. But as a young man growing up, obviously not having that male role figure in my life and having a mother who worked a tremendous amount of hours just to take care of us, I lacked a parent being involved at my school. One of my earliest memories is being in kindergarten, where I thought I was just as normal as all the other kids. You don't understand the differences of the kids. You don't understand financial differences with your friends. You're just a kid showing up to a place where there's a bunch of other kids, and they were all the same as I was. At that point, I don't think you have a concept of how there are differences, right? It wasn't until a parent-teacher conference where my kindergarten teacher, Miss Scott, I remember Miss Scott, she came up to me and she says, "Ryan, is everything all right with your mother?" The next morning after a parent-teacher conference, I said, "Yeah, why?" She says, "She was the only mom who wasn't at the meeting last night." Wow. Right there, I felt different. I wonder why my mom couldn't make it, but everybody else could. I remember going home that night and saying, "Mom, we had a parent-teacher conference. Did you know about it?" She's like, "Yeah, I couldn't go. I had to work." And whenever there was another one, because I didn't want to be different, I would remind her of this. And time after time, she wouldn't make it because she had to work. Now, I want you to know I'm the baby of many. And that's another complicated story. But my mom had probably been to parent-teacher conferences. She had been to PTA meetings. She had been to all that. I'm the baby. I'm the last one. She experienced it, and her time was more valuable making money to provide for us than it was to sit in a meeting when she knew I was doing well. But that didn't make the sting hurt anymore as a child, thinking, why am I not important enough? These were my thoughts, that my mom would show up and take an interest in my education. I felt different. I felt, unfortunately, unloved, when I know today that that's not the truth. I was very loved, but that doesn't negate that that's how I felt at the time. So I've made it a point to be extremely involved. I am a father being involved in my son's life at home and at school, so much so that I run the FBI Dads program at my son's school. I'm building it so that we can put it in other schools. Not only that, I am the co-president of the PTA. And I just kind of have a handle and an idea of what's going on in many aspects of the school. Partially because I am the president. But that's not how it always was, right? When I first got into the school, I remember going to that first open house And there's that PTA table, and they're selling you magnets and t-shirts and stuff, and my wife is dealing with all that, and I'm just observing. This is all new to me. Like, my mom wasn't heavily involved, so I'm just kind of observing. And someone kind of pulled me aside and said, "Oh, Dad, we have a dad's program. Put your name on this email list, and we'll send you an email and tell you all about it." And I was like, "Whoa, there's a dad's program for us?" Like, wow. And I remember thinking to myself, I didn't even know it was called FBI, Fathers Being Involved. I was just like, man, I want to get involved. And there's a specific dad's group. How awesome is this? And I put my name down on this list, and I thought, wow, this isn't a very big list. But maybe they're just getting it started. And I waited by my email in anticipation of receiving something. And weeks went by. And finally, about a month into school, I got an email, and it said, there's a dad's reader day, and the dads are going to read to the classrooms. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait to read to the classroom. I remember signing up and getting my son's classroom, and I remember pulling up that morning, and we picked out a book, and I said, what book do you want Daddy to read to the classroom? And we picked one out, and he was super proud. And we went in early that day to beat the traffic and get some parking. And I remember standing in the foyer of the school, and I was one of the first ones, eager and ready to go to get involved. And I sat there, and I said, hey, so what do we do? We're here an hour early to beat the traffic, so what do we do? He says, you just wait. I said, wait, well, what can we do? And he says, well, just chat with the other dads. And I'm like, I don't know any of the other dads. What can I do? I said, well, if you want to go out to the car rider line, sometimes the dads will go out to the car rider line, and we'll open the doors for the kids getting out. I'm like, I could do that. And I went out and I talked to the teachers who are normally opening the doors for my son and I in the morning. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. It's okay. But there's 40 or 50 dads. And those, what are they doing? Long story short, about 40 dads showed up that morning. There's 60 classrooms. I read to just my son's classroom, not knowing any better. And I went about my day after I read an hour later. The next reader day, which was 2 or 3 months later, around December, I remember reading to another classroom because I didn't get my son's classroom. Or I remember thinking, let another dad who wants to read to this class read. So I allowed another dad to read, and I read to a 4th grade class because that's where a need was. And I remember thinking to myself, wow. And I pictured these kids being like high schoolers, and I had a book that I thought was for a kindergartner. But the cool thing was these kids were excited to have a dad come and read, and they were reciting the book with me as many of them knew it. And it was so much fun to read to these kids who knew how to read and knew the book. And I was like, that was amazing. And I came out and they said, hey, can you read to another classroom? Do you have time? And I said, yeah. Why? Because only 20 dads showed up. We had 4 reader days that year. And by the last one, less than 10 dads showed up. And I thought to myself, why aren't these dads showing up? And the guy organizing it said, the dads just don't really get involved. And they put in their time at the beginning, and it kind of falters. And I was like, but I want to be here. And I imagine there's some other dads who want this same thing. But I was told by him and by somebody else, dads just don't want to get involved. And I'll tell you that is a false statement. And I'm going to share with you in upcoming episodes how the dads have gotten involved and the continuation of this evolution of the Fathers Being Involved program at our school. We'll see you in the next episode.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.